Honorable Men Discord. You're at home, you look through the peephole, and you see three masked men standing in front of your home. What do? Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new, I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And by all means, if you have something you'd like to share, I'll see you in the comment section. So, that whole scenario of looking through your front door peephole and seeing masked men in front of your home, that's actually a real scenario that took place where there were individuals harassing a homeowner, and they were in front of their home wearing clown mask. All right. And the reason why I even chose to discuss this episode is because we have Halloween coming up, and it's just one of those things to just discuss, to bring awareness and just talk it over on what should you do in a situation like this. All right. Now, first and foremost, let's go into the news report, take a look at what happened to this homeowner, and then we'll discuss further.
Open up the door!
As Halloween approaches, a Virginia family shows how they experienced a real living nightmare after a costume-clad trio gathered outside of their Alexandria, Virginia home earlier this week, demanding that the people inside let them in. At first, they rang the doorbell, knocked on the door, and shouted, "Either you come out or we come in." But then after that, it really escalated. The family says the trio attempted to force the front door open, break down a wooden fence in the backyard, slash through the deck screens, and then pound on the windows. At one point, the family says the trio shouted death threats and promised to return. Tonight, the family remains concerned, and of course, they want answers, including what legal rights they had in this situation. To discuss this and hopefully get some answers to that, let's bring in attorney Mark Reichel. Thank you so much for joining us for the second night in a row. Let's start with that question there, sir. What could this family have done in this situation? And if they genuinely were feeling threatened on their own property, does stand your ground rights apply here?
Each state varies, so every single state varies. Virginia, where that took place, and many others have a stand your ground law, which means your home is your castle. So you can't really use deadly force. You have to use the amount of reasonable force necessary to repel whatever the danger is to you. However, you can use deadly force when it gets to the point where they're either breaking the door down, breaking the window open, or really close to getting the door open. You can't really just do it if they're standing on the porch. Even if they're threatening you, obviously the first thing to do is call the police. So it has to be where they break it into the house somehow. So jiggling the door is probably not enough. Honestly, it's a terribly difficult legal call, but it's when they push it enough that you think they're going to get it open. You can fire away.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder whether or not this was something that was nefarious, if it was just a prank that was really poorly thought out. Either way, the Alexandria police chief hinting at the idea that this trio may soon face charges, including burglary, as well as criminal threats. So do you think, I just heard your first answer, perhaps not, they didn't cross the line. Do you think charges might apply here?
Oh, yeah. I do think it's absolutely all sorts of things. If you threaten someone to harm them, that's a criminal threat. Secondly, they were on the porch trying to break in, so there's an attempted break-in. If they really did slash a screen, it's possible that it could be the burglary, nighttime burglary. So right. I think they're absolutely they'll be convicted if they're caught, I think, on these facts.
What would the defense be, you think? If they caught these three guys, they had to appear in a court of law. What do you think would be the right way for a defense attorney to handle it?
They're going to have to prove that these persons had the intent to really do these things. I think their lawyer's going to have to get a hold of them and make sure they don't speak about anything, because it is so strange, even, Alex. I noticed you noted there were some civilians or pedestrians walking through the street with dogs, so forth, and cars. And yet these people were speaking so loudly. so loudly, they know that everyone could hear them. It was strange how they would walk back and stand there like they wanted to be photographed and would say these words over and over, "We're your worst nightmare." It is certainly strange. They could absolutely be charged with a crime. And if they would have gone a little bit further, I think these people would have had the right to use their gun.
Well, you were right to point out the fact that there were other passerbys and civilians out. It doesn't look like this was in the dead of night. It looked like maybe, at a time where people are still walking their dogs. It makes me wonder about just the fact that they're wearing costumes and maybe perhaps it being so close to Halloween that this is something that people might just shrug off. Oh, it's just kids, messing around, when really it could be criminals out there meaning to do harm.
Absolutely. Obviously, that's the great disguise to blend in, is to wear these horrible costumes. But they achieved their purpose. If they were trying to scare this person, they've scared the rest of the nation. So.
All right, what do you think would be the advice that we could give to viewers out there? I mean, this video is circulating on the internet. We've been showing it, obviously, because it is just so disturbing. There might be people out there that are thinking about their own security at their own homes and wondering, my God, I hope that never happens to me. What advice should we be giving them if they find themselves in a situation like this?
No, that's really shocking. My wife, Elizabeth, I didn't show it to her because I didn't want to ruin Halloween for her. But so I agree with you. I think that the advice is immediately call the police. Immediately call the police. Don't let anybody in. And I'm telling you, they break that door a little bit more, the seal of that door, or break a window. You got to protect yourself.
Attorney Mark Reichel, thank you very much for your time. Let's hope it doesn't happen anymore across America.
All right, so there it is. Seeing something like that at nighttime on your Ring doorbell or any time of the day is disturbing. It would make someone worried, but even more so at nighttime. Now, first and foremost, don't open the door. Second, I say call the cops. All right? Don't open the door first. Second course of action is to call the authorities. All right? Now, even better, or an added thing that you can do, if you have a large pet, a large dog, bring that dog towards the door so that those people know that you have a dog, on premise. Because most times they're not, if the person or persons that were in front of your home were planning on actually trying to break into your home, it's good to let them know that you have a large dog in your house, because that would deter some people. There's no one out there that wants to deal with a dog, a vicious dog, or a trained attack dog, all right? Whether they're armed or not. When you know someone has a dog, you're a little bit hesitant to do something. So that would be something that I would suggest in these situations. But definitely don't open the door. Install cameras. So they had a Ring doorbell. That's great. Subscribe. For those of you that have Ring doorbells, I'm not sure about the other companies, but the feature that records footage is not free. And I don't know if things have changed, but I'm a Ring doorbell owner, and I know there's going to be some pros and cons about having a Ring doorbell, and we can get into that later on in the episode. But for those of you that have a Ring doorbell or something else that's out there, it would be in your best interest to pay the I guess it's the monthly or yearly fee to have the feature that records anytime the sensor detects somebody's in front of your door. And the reason for that in this situation is because then it'll have a track record of the amount of times those people have showed up to the front of your house to harass you. It's always good to have those things tracked, especially if you're dealing with things like missing packages, foul play, where you have these people who run up to your front door and steal your package. So it's good to have those things tracked as well. But that's something that, as a safety measure, I would advise you doing, is to pay that fee to have that feature. Because otherwise, you're just stuck with a feature where you'll get the alert when the person's in front of the door, but you won't have the footage recorded. Now, there's ways around that, and I just thought about it right now. I don't know about Android phones, but if you have an iPhone and you have a Ring, you could screen record. So if your Ring notification goes off because someone's in front of your door, you could then activate screen record on your iPhone and go back to your Ring app, and I believe you'll have it recorded that way. That's a way around it. And have I tried it? I have not tried that, but that would be something that I believe you can do, is screen record your Ring app's image of someone being in front of your door if you're not home, or even if you're at home, because obviously you're not going to open the door. I would hope that none of you would open up the door if you see people parading in front of your home. You don't open up the door. Use that time to, again, call 911, let the authorities know, but also have something for your record. Screen record if you don't have the subscription to having that feature. But then also, if you have the feature, save that footage for authorities, so you could use that as evidence that that this is something that happened in front of your property, especially if it happened more than once. But with Halloween close approaching, I just advise everyone to be safe. If you're a single woman watching this episode, don't open the door, call the authorities. It's just that simple. Don't hesitate, call the authorities. But I know with Halloween approaching, it puts people at risk because you're going to be opening up the door for children. If you participate in the holiday, you're going to be opening up the door for children to give them candy. But just know that it's dangerous out there. All right? So, honestly, if you're a single woman, I wouldn't even open up my door for trick-or-treaters. I'll be honest with you. I don't even think it's safe to even entertain the idea of doing that. Put a basket of candy outside your home so that the kids could just grab candy and go. But I wouldn't be opening the door for anyone. And I know this is a little bit off of the situation that happened with the homeowner, but it ties into each other because those people are wearing masks and it's not even Halloween. So you could imagine the type of things that might happen on Halloween or could happen on Halloween. So just be aware of that. Now for men, it doesn't matter how strong you are, I would still advise that you don't open up the door. All right, because you don't know what the person has on them. You don't know what they're planning on doing. So don't open up the door. And you're not less of a man if you call the authorities. All right? So that's another thing. Self-preservation comes before anything. All right, so it's about self-preservation. It's not about risking your life to prove that, you're not scared of whoever's outside of your front door. You defending your property should be the last resort. You stepping outside of your protective space, which is behind the front door, is the last resort. But what's your thoughts on all of this? I think it's simple. I just decided to do this episode again for awareness, seeing that Halloween is approaching us in the next few days. So just be careful out there, especially you single women. Be careful out there. But that's my thoughts on this. What's your thoughts on this? As always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode. Stay honorable.